Hi guys, day 25, September 26, and today's topic is important topic, but we have taken a little bit easy questions. It is based on economics. We have already done one session, that is why this is called economics 2. So you'll learn 20 MCQs like this out of our 800 or I think 400. Okay, 400 MCQs based on economics alone, and then there will be a lot of economics questions in the full test. Okay, there are 10 full test out of which there are 1000 MCQs. At least 200 will be economics. Okay, so totally 600 to 700 unique MCQs are there, then some 20-30 revision charts are there. So economics is taught to you in the most detailed way, teaching you all concept, all current affairs. Okay, NCERT test is also there, one test of economics, where including Ramesh Singh textbook, we have taken some data. Okay, today also I'll show you some questions which are from Ramesh Singh. And the 15 pointer video, please watch it before your prelims date. We'll upload I think 1 or 2 more videos based on this series, which will come soon, so wait for that. And 2021, please enroll, because the more you delay, the more your competitors get ahead of you. Okay, because my students already 2 batches is running now, and they've got at least 15 tests by now, and they have done I think Spectrum, NCERT and Lakshmikant almost completed. Okay, so they are at that level and you are still beginning, means you have to catch up. Okay, that is why a new fresh timetable is made, so that you can start from scratch on October 1. Okay, so please see to it that you WhatsApp me and get the enrollment details. So today's first question, this is actually from Ramesh Singh. There is a chapter in which they are explaining like what is growth, what is development, what is the difference between growth and development. So economic growth is a precondition to economic development, and economic development can be assured by economic growth. Which of the following are false? So applying the basic logic that guaranteed thing or extreme things will not be true. So if you see here, which of the following is false? Second statement is false, because economic development cannot be assured by economic growth. Okay, you should know that growth is like positive growth and negative growth is there, which is quantitative, but development is a qualitative one, meaning you are removing the socio-economic problems. Okay, so economic growth is a precondition to economic development is true. You need money to do all these things, so positive economic growth is required. Okay, but it does not assure economic development. So that is why this statement is false. So I think, okay, that's it. The explanation I've given very minimum, because that is the only thing needed to answer this question. Okay, growth is what, development is what. One is quantitative plus qualitative, and growth can be positive and negative. Development means it's always positive. Okay. Which of the following is a mechanism which indicates commercial banks provides credit to the government? Cash credit ratio, debt service obligation, statutory liquidity ratio, and liquidity adjustment facility. So this is one question which is a UPSC question, and it can be asked only, it can be answered only if you know what these terms are. Okay, so here the answer is statutory liquidity ratio, so which is a quantitative tool of the RBI used for adjusting inflations and all. So if you see, SLR is something where banks have to maintain liquid asset in the form of cash, gold or government security. So when banks will get this government security from the government, obviously they'll be providing money to them. Okay, so they'll provide credit to the government in order to purchase them. That is why the answer is statutory liquidity ratio. This is a 2010 UPSC question, and every terminology of this which you see on screen is explained in detail in my economics test, with pictures, with diagrams, with comparison charts, revision charts. So that will make you clear. Okay, one time if you learn, then any kind of question UPSC asks like this, you can answer it and get 2 marks easily. Okay, others in exam hall will be sitting and trying to do guesswork for these kind of questions because they did not study this. So please be that student who knows the meaning of all these things. Which of the following are true about quantitative easing? It is a monetary policy enacted through the central bank of a government of a country. It involves sucking off liquidity from the market. It was performed for the first time in India as part of demonetization in 2016. So it is one only. Quantitative easing is an occasionally used monetary policy which is adopted by the government to increase money supply in the economy in order to further increase lending by commercial bank and spending by consumers. It can even backfire if inflation goes beyond estimated limit. So it's actually pushing money into the economy. Okay. So the second statement is false. It is involving sucking of liquidity. That is wrong. Then it is a monetary policy enacted through the central bank of a country. That is true. And then the central bank infuses a predetermined quantity of money into the economy by buying financial asset from commercial bank and private entity. This leads to an increase in banks reserves. So it is to increase money supply and not to suck them, and it is not generally used in India. It originated in USA in 2007-8 after global crisis and is practiced by mostly developed economies. But India also do this, pushing money into the economy, but we don't call it like quantitative easing. Okay, we have other tools, quantitative tools for that. So this is again in Hindu. It was there last like 2 years. It is there in news. So you should know these kind of things. Which of the following are true? When loan or interest is not paid for more than 90 days, it is categorized as NPA. When an NPA is not being paid off in 90 days, it becomes a substandard asset. When substandard asset is not being paid off 90 days, it becomes a doubtful asset. So because of this Vijay Mallya issue and all, since last 2-3 years, this non-performing asset, then banking going into crisis, all is in news. So these are just terminologies related to that. So which of the following are true? So again, easy for people who studied the basics, and basics means only these 5 lines. Okay, like SMA, there is a thing called SMA, which is special mention account. So this loan interest, if it is not paid, okay, loan or interest, anything is not paid for 30 days, it becomes bank classify that loan as SMA 0. Then 30 to 60 days, nothing is coming back to the bank. They will classify it as SMA 1. Then 60 to 90 it is SMA 2, and above 90 it is NPA. So the first statement is true. Okay, it is categorized as NPA. Now, when NPA is not paid for 12 months, it becomes substandard asset, and when substandard is not paid for 12 months, it becomes a doubtful asset. Okay, so this 90 is wrong. Here it should be 12 months. Okay, in statement 2 and 3. So NPA twin balance sheet, that is between corporates and public bank. This is a UPSC question. Like UPSC asked like what is the meaning of twin balance sheet? I mean, who are the contenders? And the choice was many things they gave combinations, but this was the answer: corporate and public bank. So I am asking questions only which UPSC have asked once. So if you don't know these things, that means you have not prepared the basics and you are studying unwanted things from unwanted sources. Please change it at least next year in case you need to prepare for prelims again. Okay. Which of the following is a common constituent of M1, M2, M3, M4 money? Okay, see the basics of money starting from M0, 5 types of money is there and you are expected to know it. Okay, think of it. This kind of questions in the exam hall, it will take time. So when you have to do this, you have to first look in the options. And when you look in options, you see that statement 1 is there everywhere. Okay, so what happens is, now you don't have to read that. Currency with public is there. Now you have to go to the next option which is there. So it is like everywhere 2 is there. Okay, except D, everywhere 2 is there. So look D. So demand deposit in post office, do you know whether it is there or not? If you think it is there, then it will be a problem. It will be there like anywhere. So you have to now go for 3. Okay, or you can do the backward way, so that 4 you check first, and if you know 4 is not there, you start eliminating that, so that will go away. Then you check 3. So if you see here, 4 and 3 are about time deposit and demand deposit. So if you know the basics, you can solve this question, and I'll show you. One thing is that liquidity, how it increases. Okay, that you will not understand first itself. First you will see the definitions. Like M1 is called narrow money, which will be the currency with public plus demand deposit in bank. Okay, like there are things like demand deposit and time deposit. Okay, demand deposit means you go to the bank and demand for it, you will get it back. That is your current account and your savings account. Okay, CA and SA. And time deposit means it is like put for a fixed time, like fixed deposit you have or recurring deposit you have, where you cannot go and simply ask. If you ask also, they will charge you a penalty. So that means it is difficult to take that money out. That is why the liquidity will be lesser. Liquidity means it is more like cash. Okay, it is with you. That is why the liquidity level, if you see M1 greater than M2 greater than M3 greater than, means M1 is the most liquid. You can immediately go and take it from the bank. M2, M3, M4, the liquidity level decreases. Okay, it's more difficult to take an M2 money or M3 money outside. So currency with public plus demand deposit in bank is the M1. M2 means the same thing, currency with public and the demand deposit in bank, but also the demand deposit in post office. So it's still liquid because it's all demand deposit. One is in bank and one is in post office. So if we see, the first two things are repeating. Okay, it's there everywhere. And M3 is broad money. Okay, this is narrow money and this is broad money, which will have currency with public plus DD in banks plus time deposit in banks. So now it's like post office section is not there, it's only banks, but this time you're taking the time deposit also. Okay, so that is M3. And then M4 is currency with public, DD in bank, same thing, and then DD in the post office, TD in banks and post office. Okay, you know, time deposit, it can be put in banks and post office. So like that, the post office section also comes. So everything comes in M4. Okay, then there is M0 or high powered money, which is the money in circulation plus bankers deposit with the RBI. Okay, bankers deposit with the RBI. M1 and M2 are called narrow money, M3 and M4 are called broad money generally. Okay, so this is not a fixed definition, but this is how they categorize, because this narrow ones, as I told, it can be taken out easily. M3, M4, the liquidity level will be lesser. So this basics, if you know, 1 and 2 is repeating everywhere, but the 3, 4, 5 will not be there. Okay, hope it's clear. Try to make some picture or something and this will be clear, because this one, once you study, then you should not tell after a few days like I forgot, I can't remember what is M2, M3 and all. These are very basics. You're taking from high liquidity level to low liquidity level. So from DD to TD it will go. That's a very basic. Okay. What quantitative tool of RBI is being described here? It is a rate at which only scheduled commercial bank borrow from the RBI. It can use the government security from SLR quota as collateral. At the time of inflation, it is generally hiked, and for deflation, it is reduced. It is used for short-term borrowing. So is it liquidity adjustment facility? Is it repo rate? Is it reverse repo rate? Is it marginal standing facility? For a serious aspirant, this question can be done in 2 seconds. Okay, because the options is like A, B and D are all the same. Okay, same in the sense liquid LAF actually means repo rate and reverse repo rate together. Okay, so obviously when you have to pick one of them, it cannot be those three. Okay, so answer is marginal standing facility. So difference, I cannot sit and explain everything now. Okay, because everything is used for the same purpose only. When banks has to borrow from RBI or RBI has to take from bank. So if you see here, all these options are quantitative tool, and the thing which is described here is MSF. Repo rate and reverse repo rate are generally called this one LAF. Repo rate is also used for short-term borrowing like MSF, but here not only scheduled banks, even governments can borrow. Okay, so this first statement itself was rate at which only scheduled banks can borrow. There itself, if you know the basics, you will know that repo rate will not fit in here. Okay, because repo rate allows all the banks, and even governments to borrow. And also collateral cannot be from SLR quota. Okay, collateral means whenever you take money, okay, like bank is borrowing from RBI, suppose. So when bank goes to RBI, they will not simply give the money. You have to keep some collateral. So that time you can keep the government securities there. But there is a condition that the ones which you have kept in SLR quota, which the question already I showed you. SLR means you keep government securities or cash or gold. So whatever government security you have kept in SLR, that cannot be given to the RBI as collateral. That is fixed. Okay, that is there in SLR and you cannot touch it. That is how it is different from MSF. When it comes to MSF, it is same thing. It is short-term borrowing. Banks again go to RBI. But this time, when you give the collateral, you can give the government securities little bit from there as a collateral to the RBI. Okay, so there is no much difference. Only difference is between whether you can give collateral from SLR or not. Okay, and whether which banks are there. Like only scheduled banks can do this, and that too limited. Not like you take entire SLR quota and give it to the RBI. Okay, so these are basics which I have explained in detail in my economics test number 1. All these questions are from economics test number 2, like you see here. Okay, and reverse repo rate is the opposite. Like now RBI is going and taking money from the bank or government. So it is a reverse. And there is a connection between all the 3 rate. Okay, like you would have seen every 2 months this MPC, Monetary Policy Committee, people are coming out and telling like we have increased this, we have decreased this. So there is a connection. Always this range will be like this. When repo rate is suppose X, MSF will be repo rate plus X plus 2.5. Okay, like suppose this is 6, this will be 6.25 and the other one will be 5.75 reverse repo rate. Okay, always this is maintained. And apart from this, there is another thing called bank rate. Bank rate is also same thing, but this is for long-term borrowing, and here no collateral is needed. Okay, that from the name you will understand. Repo rate means repurchase option. Okay, meaning I am giving you the collateral, give me money now, Later I will come and repurchase my collateral. That is why it is called repo. Okay, but in bank rate there is no collateral concept itself. You get money and it's for long term. Okay, and all these things are usually hiked during inflation, because only if you hike it, what will happen, the more money will be needed and more money will not go out to the public. Okay, for inflation I'm telling, during inflation already people have a lot of money. To restrict that money, you have to increase the repo rate so that too much money is not borrowed and too much money does not flow out. Okay, I don't know whether you understood now, but in detail I've already explained this concept in various other MCQs and in my economics lectures also. So please study this, it's very important. Blue chip companies often seen in news refers to what? Companies which have never defaulted by NPAs, companies and banks which are too big to fail, companies which are engaged in semiconductors and ICT, companies which are well established and financially sound. So everything will look like correct to people who did not study, but you have to tell me now, what is blue chip companies? So companies which are well established and financially sound, details are given here, and you can sit and read if you want. My students already have the PDF, and it keeps coming in news also, because some company will be there which becomes a huge hit after establishment, and based on that they will become financially sound. So those companies are categorized here, and it is nationally recognized also. Okay, so please read this fully if you want details, but anyway you are seeing 300 MCQ, so how much ever you can note it down, but it will not be enough. Okay. Now, which of the following funds are true about cess and surcharge? Surcharge is calculated on taxable income, while cess is calculated on taxable income plus surcharge. Surcharge need not have any specific function, while cess is charged for a specific cost. Surcharge goes to the Consolidated Fund of India, while cess goes to the public account of India. Parliamentary approval is needed to spend surcharge, but not for cess. Then surcharge and cess are not recommended by Finance Commission to be shared with states. So these are just definition statements which I have picked up and put. So if you see the third statement, this goes to public account, that is wrong. Both goes to the Consolidated Fund of India, and because of that both needs the approval also. So that is why fourth statement which is telling Parliament approval is needed here but not needed here will be false. So 3 and 4 are kind of the same statement, but we put it separately. Okay, so hope it's clear. It's a very basic of how tax is collected and how what is it charged and how it is used. Okay, cess, you know, like Krishi Kalyan cess or Swachh Bharat cess, it is for a purpose, but surcharge is not like that. Which of the following is true with respect to Phillips curve? So physics graphs are there, Phillips curve, Lorentz curve, Laffer curve. Okay, these are things which you are expected to study because in every textbook it is there, and UPSC once upon a time used to ask it with pictures. Okay, there was a time when in your prelims question paper diagrams used to be there. Okay, and they will put a diagram and they will like a match the following. They'll put 4 diagrams on the left and 4 names on the right. So that is when these things were asked, and still now people are teaching everywhere and studying, but questions have not come in the last 3-4 years. Detailed questions have not come based on this, but we cannot skip this topic because you basically can repeat anything anytime. So here it is, unemployment inversely proportional to inflation. Details you can read it here, like who started it, why it was started, what is its connection with recession, and all these things. And this is the graph how it will look like. Inflation and unemployment rate, if you see, it is the inversely proportional, meaning when one increase other is decreasing. Okay, like here if you see, unemployment is increasing like this towards the right, and inflation is like this going down that time. Okay, which is essentially a feature of gig economy often seen in news. This is mentioned in your economic survey also, so you should know what is gig economy. So here it is more temporary jobs compared to permanent jobs. And the other three options, what it is, there is words for that. Try to find out what it is. And in my full test, I think 8 or 9, I have told more economic concepts which are related to a lot of curves. Okay, like this growth rises to a peak and dips all of a sudden. So there is like V curve, W curve, U curve, Z curve. There are many curves in economy which tells us like how the economy performed in the recent time. So try to find out what is the name of this growth rises to a peak and dips all of a sudden. Okay, so like that, many things are there. So here, as you see, 2019 Future of Work report by International Labour Organization. It was there also mentioned. That is why it is important. Maybe this report also UPSC will ask. Please see to it that you answer them. Okay. So that was the 10 questions for today. Hope the conceptual questions are interesting to you, because many people don't like studying economy. But unfortunately, questions come, 18 to 20 questions come from economics, but it need not be theory. It can be theory mixed up with current affair. So please study the maximum you can. If you did not know this concept, you have to get this pack 8 and study, because more than this we cannot do anything for you. Okay, we are trying our best to make enough and more things, free MCQs available to you, but that will not be enough for a serious aspirant. Okay, this will only show you the type of questions and samples and maybe solving in this 30 seconds time, but you will not get enough content. So if you are lacking content, come and get this. So I'll come with tomorrow's session. Thank you and have a nice day.